Hi fellow YouTubers, my name's Mark. You've probably seen some of my videos before. Probably the most famous one is the time lapse that I did, and the biggest question that I get is about the AG-HMC40. Obviously that's the camera that I chose to buy, probably based on price more than anything. But the big question that I'm always asked is, how is it in low light? What I'm doing now is I'm doing this video to explain, or at least show, the low light capabilities. You can see some of my other videos. Of course, I'm going to put a URL across the bottom of the screen here. So, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to explain the low light capability of this particular camera. Now, what I decided to do, I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. I'm going to try and zoom out here a little. Oh, zoomed in. So I'm going to try and zoom out here. And what I've done is I'm just here in my dining room of my house here. And I've taken 2 table lamps. So nothing special. Anybody can, of course, have their own table lamps. I bought these at Goodwill for $5 a piece. Pretty good deal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show, based on, these are 2 3-way light bulbs. So they go in increments of 50, so they're 50, 100, or 150. So what I have right now is I have just bare naked bulbs. Obviously most people would never use this particular setup. But right now they're running at 300 watts. So you basically have 150 over here, you have 150 over here. So that should give you at least some kind of idea. The setup that I have on the camera at this point, and I'll also include that in the liner notes as well, is bare minimum. Just there's no tweaking on the camera at all. I'm not going to do any post-processing whatsoever, so that you'll be able to see the noise. I decided to do the background in my kind of burgundy color. I haven't even bothered to white balance. You'll also see the American flag over here. So the reason why I threw in the flag is because it's a pretty recognizable image around the world. So you'll be able to see, or at least pick up, any kind of noise. So what I'll do from this point on is I will completely drop all the lights out. Like I said, there's no gain, we're at 0. And then I will turn 1 to 50, the other one to 50, which of course will bring it to 100 across the board, the other one, so that'll be 150, and so on. So it should give you a pretty good example, and I hope you enjoy what we're going to do. So I'm going to come back in here. I haven't had a chance to use the remote very much, so I'm just going to do that just so that we can just cut out the spill of the lights a little bit. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to take a little break, and we'll start with 50 watts of light. So there we go, there's 50 watts of light. I'm sure the autofocus is kind of going a little bit crazy. It is off to this particular side over here. So like I said, I'm not going to do any kind of tweaking at all. So there is 50 watts of light. So hopefully that will give you an idea. Now what we'll do is we'll go to 100. So I'll turn on the other light on the other side of the table. Okay, now we're at 100 watts, and one of the things that I did notice playing around between the break there, you'll notice the edit. Sorry, I didn't figure you'd want me hopping up. But I had to zoom completely in so that the autofocus could even pick me up. So what I did was I zoomed all the way in so that at least the autofocus could pick me up, so you might notice a little bit of framing issues. But otherwise, I mean, I can see myself in the monitor. I don't know how to look, but that's 100 watts. So you have 50 and 50 equaling 100 across. One thing I did need to mention is that the lamps are about a good, say, 3.5 feet away from me. So normally if I had like a low light situation like this, I would probably move the lamps a little bit closer, but for continuity's sake, I'm just going to leave them right where they're at. So here's 100 watts. Now we'll move on to 150. Okay, what I did was and you could probably tell because it's brighter over here, but I turned this one up over here. So this particular lamp now is at 100, and this one is at 50. So we have 150 across the board, kind of. You'll notice, obviously, I'm getting a little bit of drop off over here, but that should give you a good example of if there's any kind of noise over here at all with the flag and this particular side of my face. So I'll actually kind of just pause here for a minute so that you guys can observe if there's any kind of noise, anything like that. Normally what I would also do is I would also do a backlight, but I'm not doing that just for continuity's sake. So we'll move on to the next one. So that will be 200 across the board. Okay, so now basically both lamps are at 100. So you've obviously got 200 watts on me right now. I can see myself pretty well. I don't know about the noise issue because the camera is probably a good 6-7 feet away from me, as you could see when I pulled back out. But what I'll do is I'll zoom out at this point so that you can get a better idea as far as how far away the camera is. So it's pretty decently far away. But that should give you a good idea as far as noise and things of that nature. So zooming in, you might see this right in front here. This is my clock because obviously you can only have so much time on YouTube, so I just wanted to keep this short and sweet. So if you notice what that is. So I'm going to zoom back in here real quick just a little bit. So I think that's pretty good. So I'll just pause here for a second. And we'll move right along to the next one, which would be 250. Okay, we're back, and basically now this one is running at 150, and this particular lamp is running at 100, so that's giving you 250 across the board. Again, you can notice it's a little bit brighter over here, but that'll still give you a good idea of this is at about 250 watts, just regular incandescent. I don't know if I mentioned earlier that I'm not going to white balance either, just to keep the camera as generic as possible. So, you know, pay attention to the flag, everything else. So we'll move on to the next one, which will be 300 across the board. So here we are basically back at the beginning, 300 across the board. You've got 150 in this lamp and you've got 150 in this lamp. So that should give you a good idea as far as noise situation. I myself love the camera. Of course I would like better low light capability, but for the majority of the events that I'm shooting, they're mostly theatrical based. Everybody is pretty well lighted, as well as, I mean, I figure that pretty much any event that you're going to shoot is going to be pretty well lighted. You might have some problems with, like, say, receptions, wedding receptions, things of that nature. Concerts, most concerts I have found, I would say the great majority are pretty well lighted as well. And again, this is the shutters at 160. There's absolutely no gain at all. What I might do is I might do one at maybe 10 dB gain. I think the camera is a wonderful camera, excellent value for the money. Probably, ironically, one of my biggest complaints is that it is so amazingly light. So the camera itself is only 2.5 pounds, which can be an issue with moving around, things of that nature. Most of the floating heads that I've found, the higher end floating heads, are the auto correction as far as leveling is designed for cameras 5 pounds or more. So that is kind of an issue, but as far as compact, lightweight, being able to use solid state memory, it's a great camera. Just use your common sense, find the light. If not, you know, bring a light with you. But I hope that this helps, and by all means, check out my various websites, my other videos as well. And if you have any questions, be sure and definitely let me know.